So we are continuing our discussion on different biomolecules. In our previous classes, we have tried to understand the structure and functions of carbohydrates. In today's class, we are going to understand something about proteins. Now, in this chapter, we are going to at least to explore about the elementary classification of amino acids, then simple and conjugated proteins with the examples, primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary structures of proteins with hemoglobin as example, as well as we will also try to understand the biological importance of proteins. So first let's see the elementary classification of amino acids. Now before going to the classification of amino acid as such, let's see what are these amino acids. As the name itself says, these are amino group containing compounds. Okay, basically these are the building blocks of proteins. See, just like how the wall is constructed using bricks, each protein molecule is formed of a chain of these kind of units called as amino acids. They are different from carbohydrates. See, carbohydrates, we have seen the polysaccharides for example, are polymers. Okay, they are either homopolymers or heteropolymers, in the sense either the repeating units are same or 2 or 3 different types of units are getting repeated, but there is repetition. This kind of protein is totally different from that. Here they are formed of amino acids, but each protein is formed of different sequence of amino acids. But one particular type of protein will be always formed of similar sequences. So in that way it is different as well as it is special. As we go further in the class, you will understand exactly what they are. So now let's only focus on to understand what are these amino acids. So amino acids are nothing but the building blocks of proteins. Okay, and they get their name because they are formed of amino group and carboxy terminal. Now here on the screen you can see that there is a structure of amino acid. So this is one amino acid, and see here there is a carbon atom. You're all familiar that each carbon has 4. I mean valency of carbon is 4. So that means it can bind with 4 different atoms at a time. Okay, so its 4 different valencies are satisfied by 4 different groups. Now see, here there is one H, okay, bound to one of the valency, and then there is a carboxylic group C double bond O OH, COOH, carboxylic acid it is. Then there is amino group NH2, NH2 is amino group. Now the next one, the last valency is satisfied by this R. R is a side chain, and this R can be anything from H to any aromatic compound. It can be anything. Okay, so that means each amino acid is formed of one amino group, okay, and another one carboxylic group. Because it has both amino group and carboxylic group, it gets its name as amino acid. And where they are bound? They are bound to a carbon atom. Okay, a central carbon atom which is asymmetrical in nature, because it is asymmetrical because it is bound to 4 different atoms or 4 different molecules. Okay, so since it is bound to 4 different atoms, it is a asymmetric carbon atom. Okay, and here the 4 different atoms are, one is a amino group, nitrogen of amino group, carbon of carboxylic group, and one proton, one hydrogen, and then one R group. This R group can be anything from hydrogen atom to CH2, okay, or alkyl, it can be alkyl group, or it can be even aromatic or cyclic compound, anything. Okay, and depending upon the type of side chains that are present, there are different types of amino acids. So I am repeating, amino acid gets its name as amino acid because it is formed of amino group and carboxylic group. Then how many amino acids are present? Actually, there are more than 300 amino acids in nature, but we are talking about proteins here, and there are 20 amino acids that form all different types of proteins present in this nature. Okay, I am not only talking about humans, not only talking about animals, we are talking about all different animals, organisms that are present, and the proteins which are present in them are basically formed of 20 different amino acids. That means these 20 different amino acids are present in different sequences and in different number in different proteins. Okay, so here we have one more picture. So I think this is much more clear to you. See here the central carbon atom, okay, the asymmetric carbon atom that is present. This carbon atom is bound to the carboxylic group as well as to the amino group. Amino from amino group, acid from carboxylic group. This hydrogen is constant, whereas this is variant. So that means when I am talking about 20 different amino acids of that form the protein, they differ only in this group. So based on what is present here as a replacement for our group, you will find 20 different types of amino acids in proteins. Okay, and all these amino acids that are present in the protein are called as alpha amino acids. So these are alpha amino acids. Why they are alpha amino acids? Because they are bound to this asymmetric carbon. See, both these functional groups are amino group as well as carboxylic group. They are bound to the central carbon atom. Since they are bound to this central carbon atom, which is alpha carbon, okay, so the amino acids are called as alpha amino acids. That is very important. Proteins are formed of alpha amino acids. Okay. Yes, so now again here we have one more one more slide where it is much more clear to you the attachment of carboxylic group as well as carboxylic acid as well as amino groups. Okay, and then there is a alpha group, alpha carbon. This carbon is called as alpha carbon because both these are bound to, alpha carbon because it is the carbon atom to which the functional group is attached, isn't it? In chemistry you have studied. Here both of them are attached to the alpha carbon only. So the amino acid is obviously called as alpha amino acid. Hope you are clear about it. So amino acids are the building blocks of the proteins. There are more than 300 different types of amino acids, but only 20 amino acids are present in proteins. That means they make up the protein. Okay, and these amino acids get their name because they are formed of amino group and a carboxylic group. Both these groups are attached to a central asymmetric carbon atom. 20 different amino acids are different from each other because of one particular group, that is the R group that is present. In all other ways they are same, they are similar, okay, except for this all amino acids are same, but this R group it varies and accordingly you have 20 different amino acids. Hope you are clear about it. Now let's go to the classification of amino acids. So these amino acids are classified based on different criteria. Classification is always done based on different criteria. So here the classification of amino acid, one type of classification of amino acid is based on the R group present in them. R group, this group, okay. Based on this particular group present, you can classify amino acids into different types. Now the first type of such classification is non-polar aliphatic amino acids. You are familiar about aliphatic and aromatic compound, isn't it? So here we are talking about aliphatic compounds. Aliphatic are linear chain of carbon and hydrogen. Aromatic, whenever there is a cyclic compounds, ring, whenever it comes you call them as aromatic compounds, isn't it? Aliphatic, if they are present in the linear chain or a branched chain, you call it as aliphatic compound. So if the R group attached is a aliphatic group, okay, and if it is non-polar, what do you mean by non-polar? They are hydrophobic. Okay, they are hydrophobic compounds. If there is a hydrophobic compound attached to the central carbon atom, then such group of amino acids are called as, they are grouped as non-polar aliphatic amino acids. Which are the examples? Out of 20 those different types of amino acids that form protein, glycine, alanine, valine, leucine, methionine as well as isoleucine, all these come under aliphatic amino acid. See, H, it is aliphatic group. It is a non-polar. Then we have methyl group, non-polar. We also have this group, again a non-polar one. See, R here, okay, and here methionine, okay, and isoleucine. In all these cases, the the R group that is attached is a aliphatic one, a linear chain of carbon and hydrogen, or a branched chain anyway, but not never a ring, okay, and they are hydrophobic in nature. They are usually insoluble in water. Okay, so such amino acids are grouped under non-polar aliphatic amino acids. That is the first group based on, or first class of amino acid based on the R group. I will repeat the examples: glycine, alanine, valine, leucine, isoleucine, methionine as well as proline. So there are certain small changes, like isoleucine is a part of this. Now next class is aromatic amino acid. Since you know what is aliphatic, you now know what is aromatic. Aliphatic when the chain is linear or branched, but never cyclic, non-cyclic. Okay, if they are present in the form of a cycle, then you call it as a aromatic. You are familiar about benzene, then toluene, phenol, etc. They all contain cyclic structure. So whenever there is a cyclic hydrocarbon, it is an aromatic hydrocarbon, isn't it? So if the side chain that is present, if the R group is a cyclic structure, then such a amino acid is called as aromatic amino acid. Okay, so here phenylalanine, tyrosine and tryptophan, these three are aromatic amino acids, and again they are also relatively non-polar in nature. Okay, and that means they are involved in hydrophobic interactions. You know, hydrophilic and hydrophobic condition, water soluble, hydrophilic, insoluble, hydrophobic, isn't it? So here the second class is aromatic amino acid, where the R group is a aromatic compound, a cyclic hydrocarbon. You see, I said that amino acids are similar in their nature. See here, it is same. These groups are same. There is no change. Okay, whereas the R group is different. If it contains a ring, then it is a aromatic compound. Aromatic, here they are hydrophobic one, non-polar aromatic amino acids. The third class is polar, okay, and they are uncharged amino acids. They don't have free charges, and these amino acids are more soluble in water because they are polar compounds. Polar compounds are soluble in water. Okay, so these are more soluble in water and are more hydrophilic in nature. So here they contain functional groups that can form hydrogen bond with the water. Okay, so the functional groups that are present here in them, they can form hydrogen bond with water. So they are considered as the polar uncharged amino acid. That's the next class of amino acid. Here you see serine, threonine, cysteine, proline, asparagine and glutamine. They come under polar uncharged R groups or amino acids. The fourth one is acidic amino acid. Acidic, basic amino acids. Two types of amino acids are present. So these acidic amino acids, they have negatively charged groups. See here, C double bond OO minus. So that is a negatively charged group. So glutamate also has a negatively charged group. So those which have negatively charged functional groups, they are considered as acidic amino acids, and two examples for acidic amino acids are aspartic acid and glutamic acid. Their name is also aspartate or aspartic acid, glutamic acid or glutamate. So this is the fourth class of amino acids. The last one is basic amino acid. So since you know what is acidic, you are familiar now that what is basic. So these are positively charged groups. So there are side chains, in the side chain there will be positively charged group, okay, and these are basic in nature. Okay, so amino acids that contain positively charged group are basic amino acids. Lysine, arginine and histidine are basic amino acids containing a positively charged groups. Okay, so those are the classification of amino acids based on the R group. So it can be a aliphatic amino acid, it can be a aromatic amino acid, it can be a polar amino acid, it can be a acidic amino acid, or it can be a basic amino acid. There are a few more classes. We will restrict ourselves to these 5 different classes, which encompasses all the 20 different amino acids. Okay, so this is one type of classification. There is another type of classification, and here it is based on nutrition. That means when you are consuming a protein, we know that now at least proteins are formed of amino acids. Our body needs amino acids. Our body can synthesize certain amino acids. Okay, that means you don't have to always take them in your daily diet. But our body cannot synthesize certain other amino acids. In that case, those amino acids will have to be taken in our daily diet. So accordingly, whether they should be taken in a regular diet or not, okay, we have 2 classes of amino acids. They are essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. Okay, you can also classify it into a third group called as conditionally essential amino acids. We'll see it in the next slide anyway. So what are these essential amino acids? Out of 20 different amino acids that are present in that form the protein, 9 amino acids are not synthesized in our body by any means. That means they must be part of our daily diet. Our daily diet should contain those proteins which might have these amino acids. Okay, so such amino acids are called as essential amino acids. So what are essential amino acids? Essential amino acids are those amino acids which are essential to the body but are not synthesized by our body, and they'll have to be taken in our daily diet. Okay, otherwise we'll suffer from deficiency conditions. So such amino acids are called as essential amino acids. The 9 essential amino acids are histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan and valine. All these amino acids should be a part of our daily diet, okay, because our body cannot synthesize them. Then there is another group that is called as non-essential amino acids. That means these amino acids can be synthesized by the body itself. Our body is capable of synthesizing these amino acids, and there are 11 such amino acids. Okay, and that means even if they are not part of your daily diet, it is okay, you won't suffer from any deficiency syndromes. They are needed by the body. Okay, don't think they are not needed, they are needed by the body, but our body can synthesize them by different means. There are mechanisms by which amino acid can be synthesized or can be derived. So you don't have to take them in your daily diet. Even if you are not taking them, you won't suffer from deficiency conditions in most of the cases. Such amino acids are called as non-essential amino acids, and 11 amino acids are such non-essential amino acids. But out of these non-essential amino acids, sometimes when you are under illness or stress, these amino acids will have to be taken extra, because during illness and stress our body may not be able to synthesize required amount of amino acids. Then they'll have to be taken in diet. Then they'll have to take them as a supplement. Such amino acids are called as conditionally non-essential. If you are normal, you don't have to take them in your daily diet. But if you are having certain illness or some stress, in that case you will need more additional amount of amino acids which our body is not capable of synthesizing. If you are requiring some, let's say that 0.01 milligram of these amino acids daily, during illness or stress you might need 0.5 milligrams per day. I am saying milligram is a larger quantity, they will be treated, taken in international units anyway. So let's just, for picturizing, to have an idea, let's say that you need 0.5. Our body is capable of synthesizing only 0.01 milligram. But during illness you need 0.5 milligram. This difference should be taken in the diet during illness and stress. So such amino acids are called as conditionally non-essential amino acids. Arginine, cysteine, glutamine, glycine, proline and tyrosine, they come under these categories. Whereas alanine, aspargine, aspartate, glutamate and serine, these amino acids, you don't have to worry about them at all. Illness or not, normal health or not, your body is capable of synthesizing them in enough amount. Okay, so they are not totally non-essential amino acids. Arginine is also considered as a semi-essential amino acid too. Okay, so these two are the classes based on nutrition, whether they are synthesized by the body or not. Based on that, two classes: essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. Now based on the solubility in water, you have two classes of amino acids: hydrophobic amino acids and hydrophilic amino acids. Amino acids that are insoluble in water are known as hydrophobic amino acids. Insoluble, hydro, water, phobic, hating, fear. Okay, those which do not dissolve in water, those which are not soluble in water are considered as hydrophobic. Okay, so these amino acids are come under hydrophobic amino acids. Alanine, valine, leucine, lysine, proline, methionine, phenylalanine and tryptophan are considered as hydrophobic amino acids, and those which are soluble in water, hydro, water, philic, loving, those which dissolve in water are considered as hydrophilic amino acids: glycine, serine, threonine, cysteine, okay, etc. They all come under hydrophilic amino acids. So there are three different classifications. One is based on the R group present, next one is based on nutrition, third one depending upon the solubility in water. You have different classes of amino acids. Okay, so that is all about the amino acid. In this class we have discussed about the amino acids. We know that now that they are the building blocks of proteins. They are formed of a carboxylic group and amino group as well as a side chain. All of these are attached to one carbon atom called as alpha carbon, and based on R group, they are classified as non-polar aliphatic, aromatic, polar uncharged, acidic and basic. Based on the amino acid, their nutrition, their essential or non-essential based on solubility, their hydrophilic and hydrophobic amino acids. That's all for today's class. This is my reference for today's class. Thank you.